We continue to remember a life well lived as former Vice President Kwesi Amissah Arthur is laid to rest this week. Today is for the filing past as members of the community pass by and view his body for the last time. The funeral ceremony will be tomorrow. But right now, Maxwell Agwagba is also at the conference center. He's standing by to speak to some notable people who have come to pay their last respects to the late former Vice President. Maxwell, I believe, is with Mr. Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boah, who used to be the Minister of Energy. Maxwell.
Yes, could you, as you rightly stated, we have here with us Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boah. He was a minister during President Mohammed's administration. He's here with us. Let me find out, have you been inside already?
I am now going to far past. I went in, but I didn't go far past. I was trying to just muster the courage to go.
Muster the courage to do that, yeah.
Yes.
But I want to find out from you, first of all, how did you meet the Vice President? Do you recall the first time you met him?
Well, yeah, I think that for all the years I've been in public service, I've been with the Vice President. My encounter with him was when he was a governor. I was then the Deputy Minister during the President Mills era. And my impressions of him, he was very jovial and he left an impression. Anytime you meet you, and he's very humorous, so he can make you laugh easily. But more importantly, he's somebody that took his job very seriously at all times. And if you look at the role he has played, and a lot has been said about the role he's played, especially in helping our economic management team, whether he was the director or advisor to the Minister of Finance during the President Rawlings era, whether he was the governor of the Bank of Ghana looking at monetary policy, as Vice President, the chairman of the economic management team. In all of those roles, he was very steadfast, was very focused, and always working to find very challenging solutions for our very challenging problems. And so the Vice President is somebody that we have a deep respect for. I mean, as a cabinet minister, and you always go to him for advice on various issues. And you always knew where he would stand on the issues. He will always give you very honest advice and tell you as it is. And so you are sure when you are going to him what you are going to get. I mean, you are either completely on the right track, you are right, or you're completely wrong, and that you need to make amends. And I think because of that, he was valued. I've just heard somebody ask me, well, he was so different, he was non-confrontational, he doesn't even look like somebody who should be in politics. And this is my answer. I said, actually, these are the people we need in politics. The type of people who are always striving for solutions and bringing people together. I think that this morning, as I walk in here, as I saw his big photo here, I started reflecting on his life and what can we do differently as a country. I think that we should take the opportunity of his sudden passing to begin to reflect on our country, on our politics, on finding critical solutions to the difficult problems instead of tearing ourselves apart.
Okay. Thank you very much for talking to us. Indeed, we kind of find the right words to describe the mood here right now. Indeed, a great oak tree, has fallen. Mama V is standing by with some family members of the former Vice President. We can now cross over to Mama V here at the forecourts of the Accra International Conference Center.
He's gone. It was such a shock because just 3 or 4 weeks before that, he had come down to visit us in Ohio. And we talked a lot, and he was going to come home and send me some material that I had asked him for. And so the last thing I was expecting a call from him, but the last thing I was expecting was this kind of news. It just floored us. Especially knowing, I knew that he worked out a lot. And whenever he came to visit me, I like walking. So we'll walk like, we'll do our 10,000 steps a day. So that was our goal. Every time he came, we tried to do 10,000 steps. And this last May, when he visited, we'd done that. And so I was expecting a call about something else, not to say that he'd collapsed in a gym, of all places. It was pretty rough. It was rough.
Did you ever think those steps were going to be the last?
No. You never think that. Healthy, very conscious about his health, did everything that the doctors tell us to do, checked his blood pressure, checked his vitals, everything. And so it came as a real shock that this would happen. But I guess such is life,
So how have you, the family, I mean, you would feel it the most because you are closest. How have you been holding up?
First of all, our mom is a very strong personality, strong faith. And I remember when I got the call, I called her, and her first words were from the book of Job. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Praise be the name of the Lord. And when you have somebody like that who's based in scripture, based in faith, and is giving you the word of the Lord, it kind of gives you the support that you need to work through. It's painful, but you need to work through it. And that's the kind of, that's the way that we've been coping. You cry a little bit, and then you fall back on scripture, and then you cry some more and you fall back on scripture and each other,
How would you want the nation to remember him?
I would want the nation to remember him as a humble person, a hardworking person, and should I say a lovable person? Yes.
Maybe we can go back to his infantipim days. Would you remember any memories to share from there?
Yeah. One of the things that I remember most is that I'm not very good at math in school or after. And when he started infantipim, there was something called old math, which we were all taught. And Pakwesi wasn't very interested in old math. So he didn't pay much attention to his lessons. And then about 2 or 3 years after he started infantipim, they brought in new math. I don't know what was new about it. It was all math to me. But new math was something that he just clicked with him. And he just loved it, loved the numbers. And from then on, it was math and figures and all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the things that I remember particularly because of the difference between us. He's the one directly after me. So the difference in orientation to numbers was pretty stark, and that sticks in my mind. Yeah.
So of course he liked numbers. Did it surprise you at all that he went the path that he did?
In economics and finance, not at all.
Rising to be governor of the Bank of Ghana at one point.
Not at all, because he was that interested and in making things work, in the numbers and things that he had to do. Practical application of the knowledge that he had. That was great. I was not surprised at all. Plus, he was very smart about money,
But did you think, as family, that he was going to get into politics?
Personally, I didn't. I had not seen that inclination before. So I was surprised and a little bit scared, for him.
What was scary about it?
Politics, generally, and politics in Ghana is a lot of exposure, a lot of uncivil people who will say all kinds of things just to get by. And knowing him for who he was, I didn't want that kind of, you know, that kind of attitude, that kind of reaction to him, you know.
So did you try to stop him?
Oh, yes. I asked him why he was getting involved, you know. I would have stopped him if I could, but say, hey, this is something I need to do. This is what I've been called to do. And he was a very responsible person, so he had to do what he had to do, you know. Right.
But for cousins, you'd be excited when he was vice president?
I wasn't that excited knowing what politics is like in Ghana. So, like, she was surprised. I was also surprised. But what I did was always to pray for him, because I wasn't excited about it. Yeah.
Interesting, because you know, your family is vice presidents. You know, that's
it's good. I mean, that's the exciting part. But looking at the other things that follow, comments, you know, and he was a private person, so then he gets exposed to all these comments, and that is where I wasn't too comfortable. But
I think one of the questions after he got out of politics, maybe perhaps I should ask, how was his life after the NDC went out of administration?
From my vantage point, I would say it was huge relief that he could spend the time that he wanted with his children, and particularly with his grandchildren, because he loved those babies and he wanted to spend as much time as he could with them. And that was they were his priority, you know. So it was relief. It was the time that he got to spend with them that was most important to him. Yeah.
I can tell you, for us as media, we kept asking the question, was he going to run again? And then also the ultimate question, was he going to go for the presidency? Would you know if he had any plans of a sort to run again, either to go for the ultimate in terms of the presidency?
Nothing that I saw. You know, his first priority was to get himself reacquainted with family, get to know his grandchildren, and then, you know, if there was any thought of politics, it was way down the road, not anything immediate at all.
Can I ask how Auntie Matilda has been holding up as well? What's been keeping her?
Again, it's you fall back on faith, on your Christian faith. You fall back on you know, the prayers of your family, the prayers of your church, and both of them were very strong in their church, and so that's where the strength comes from. You know, when you know who you are, when you know what your support is, family and friends are fine, but in the end, in the midnight hour when everybody is gone, all you have is the Lord and what you know about him. So I would say that is what has been sustaining both Matilda and the children and the rest of the family.
Do the grandchildren know yet what has happened?
Oh, yes. Yes, they're very, you know, he was very close with them, and so they know exactly what has happened. They may not quite understand, but they know that he's not there the way he used to be.
Can I ask you how our late former vice president would have wanted all of us to remember him?
He would say, do the best you can to help people who are less fortunate than you are. He was particularly concerned about the quality of education for young people. And he would want to be remembered as somebody who tried his best to get to do things the right way, with integrity, you know, to make sure that everybody who needs help gets the right kind of help. You know. So I wish that the country will remember him by making sure that children get the good education, the right education, and that people, you know, take their public responsibilities seriously. That it's not for them, it's for the country, it's for other people, not for themselves to get wealthy.
Yeah. Any final words you want to share with us?
I think his life should be an example to us all, doing things and doing them well. Anything worth doing is worth doing well. Yes, that is what he lived for.
I thank you that even in a time of mourning, you still made time to speak to us, to share with us. I think we know a lot more now than we did, and so hearing from you has been really helpful. Thank you, and we mourn with you as well.
Thank
That's
you very much.
Laura, and that's Nana Benua. Keep watching the AM show here on Joy News. We'll still bring you some visuals from the Accra International Conference Center, and from time to time we'll speak to people who knew him better than we do, so they can share with us a lot more that we never would have known. Stay with us.